We do a lot of networking. If you have a relationship with one school, you try to use that school to make introductions to other schools because they're all interconnected. These people know each other. And a warm introduction goes a long way towards creating an element of trust with someone who doesn't know you. That's huge. And that's been really our recipe for growing over the years. It's do good work for your clients and then use them to help leverage relationships that they have with other colleagues.
You're listening to Stories from the Top, an inside guide to better business development. So we're here with Bill Haley and Paoli of Allied Pixel. Thank you guys for coming on to the show.
You bet.
To start out, why don't you guys give us a quick intro to Allied Pixel?
Allied Pixel is the world-leading producer of data-driven personalized video for higher education. And that's a mouthful, and I can unpack that if you'd like to.
Yeah. Why don't you break it down a little bit?
Yeah, so we're a company that creates personalized videos that are used by colleges and universities to help with enrollment, with financial aid, even with fundraising. And we create videos that are unique to each person that watches them. So instead of sending out one generic video to 10,000 students, they would send out 10,000 unique videos that each one is like particularly relevant to the student that watches it.
Yeah, so talk about the process of how this works. I was researching a little bit on your website. It seems like there's different modules that get selected kind of automatically based on the data that's input for that student. Is that right?
It is, yeah. The easiest way to think about it is that we create a library of video content, and then we hook up with the organization's CRM to pull data that allows us to stitch together a video which has all the relevant data for each person, right? So, practical example, we might do an enrollment video that speaks to the student's major, right? And the school may have 40 different majors. So there's video content for each of those 40 majors: accounting, nursing, et cetera. So we inject the right video sequence, and then we might also talk about, housing options. You can, live in a dormitory, or you can live in an apartment, or you can commute. So then again, we insert the correct content for that piece. And there may be other variables too, interest in like the study abroad programs, things like that. So what we end up doing is stitching together a video that is very specific to that one student who's watching it.
So how did this all come about? You started in the 90s. Tech was a lot different back then than it is now. Like, what were you guys doing when you first started?
Always had an interest in combining video with technology, and the technology obviously has advanced a lot. So, you roll all the way back to 1993. In those days, the state of the art was interactive CD-ROMs. It's physically a shiny little disc. Most people don't even know what they are anymore, but they would play back, if you were lucky, on a laptop computer, and it was video content that was somewhat interactive. You could click on a button and it would play a particular video.
Almost like a DVD menu you're going through.
Exactly, yeah. And that's how it started, and it evolved through a lot of different sort of technologies over the years. We got involved with something called Macromedia Director, which was sort of a high-end platform for creating interactive content. And then that evolved into Flash, which people might remember, and we were a big Flash developer for many years, and it's just continued to evolve to today, where data is what it's all about. So we're creating these data-driven, personalized videos.
So did you design your own software and platform that you're running on?
We did. About 8 years ago, Adobe opened up their platform, their API, which made it possible for the first time to do programmatic editing. So this was on After Effects. And up to that time, the only way to do editing was sort of a very manual process where an editor would drag and drop clips onto a timeline and build out a program, one clip at a time. It's a great way to do it, but it's not scalable. So if you were to ask an editor to do the same video for 10 different students, it would probably take 10 days, for that manual process. when they opened up the API, suddenly it became theoretically possible to do programmatic editing directly from a data source. So we took a couple of years to figure out how to actually make that work. It wasn't easy. There was nothing that was sort of like pre-made that did that. But we came up with a solution that allowed us to actually use the data to create a video. And we took one school, a very brave school, that was willing to be a guinea pig. And we said, listen, we have an idea. Would you like to try it? We did it. It was successful. And the rest is history.
And then tell us a little bit about some of the results that you've seen from using when the clients use personalized video, like the effectiveness.
One of the cool things about personalized video is that it is very trackable. So behind the scenes, we're able to monitor all of the activities. So we know who has watched their video, who has watched it to completion, who has shared their video, who has clicked on action buttons like enroll now or schedule a campus tour. So all of these things are tallied, and we do it both on the individual viewer basis, but also on a macro basis for the entire campaign. And there's tons of statistics that are really amazing. So for example, we know that students who have watched their personalized video are 5 times more likely to enroll at that school than students who don't watch a personalized video. And we see lots of statistics like that across the board.
So as far as building the business itself goes, what size were you back in the 90s when you started? Was it just you and a couple of people?
It was one. It was me working out of my living room, like the proverbial thing. I had a 9-to-5 job, and I just made the decision, you know what, I want to start a company. And it started very small. And it grew kind of organically over time, over the years. And these days we're about 36 people.
So what was that process like as you were kind of developing a new product for the market while also scaling, and you need to have a business that you're actually making a living from and bringing people in? Like, what was the whole process like over the years of scaling up while also kind of breaking ground into a new category of video service?
Well, we bootstrapped it all, for sure. So, all I can say is we started out with, one person and one client, and it grew over the years. So both in terms of the number of schools that we worked with, but also in what we were doing. I mean, like I mentioned, I started out doing interactive CD-ROMs, and that's sort of a one-off process. So I spent a lot of time, at a computer sort of, generating these things. But as our projects became more complex, it was way beyond my skill set. So we brought in, additional people who had sort of technical expertise, data and editors and so forth, and built a team that was able to really create a workflow that took these projects through from beginning to end.
Were there any kind of big roadblocks that you ran into along the way?
Tons of roadblocks. Yeah. I think any business that's doing something new is going to run into roadblocks. There were technical roadblocks, as I mentioned. Even with the advent of personalized video, we're sort of creating a whole new thing. But there's also the roadblocks of a customer not really knowing what we're doing. And a lot of what we do, even today, is kind of evangelical work, where we're explaining what we do and how it can benefit your school. Most schools don't know anything about data-driven personalized video. So a lot of what we do is educating them and doing show and tell, and like, here's what it looks like, here's how it works, here's how it's benefited other schools. So there's a very much of a sort of an education component to what we do, even today.
And what was your process for developing that sales process? Were you just cold calling schools trying to get into a presentation, or?
It's hard to cold call. I think in any business, cold calls, people tend to push back on that. So we do a lot of networking in different ways. So if you have a relationship with one school, you try to use that school to make introductions to other schools because they're all interconnected. These people know each other. And a warm introduction goes a long way towards creating sort of an element of trust with someone who doesn't know you. So if you have, Bob who says to Sally, "Hey, these guys are great. You should give them some time. Let them tell you their story." That's huge, and that's been really our recipe for growing over the years. It's do good work for your clients, and then use them to help leverage relationships that they have with other colleagues. And these days we do a lot of other outreach things, such as podcasts, webinars. We do a lot of trade shows. I mean, these are all ways to just sort of get in front of people and show them what we do.
Very interesting. And
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to when you were growing the business. You kind of mentioned you went from 1 person to 30 people. What was like the first hire that you made, like their job position?
So that was Pete Bretz, who's with us still today, and he goes way back. We're local guys. We're from Delaware County. We both went to Pencrest High School. We grew up together. We lost touch of each other after high school. We got reunited literally at a wedding of a mutual friend from high school. And at that time, it was just getting to the point where we're getting into Macromedia Director. And I am not a programmer by any stretch. And he was. And I asked him what he was doing. And he said, "Actually, I'm looking to change jobs." And I said, "Well, we should talk." And he was employee number 1. And this is going back, he's been with me, oh my gosh, for probably 25 years. And today he is our VP of technology, and he is the architect and the brainchild of how we're doing what we're doing today.
very interesting. Yeah. And as you continued scaling, what was like the rest of that map? Who was next after him?
Next in line was an editor, because back in those days we were still doing traditional editing. Our first system, you guys will laugh at this, was a Media 100, which I don't think is even made anymore. It was kind of a precursor to Avid and some of the modern systems that are out today. But editing is a long and tedious task, right? I mean, it's a good editor will take the time to go through all the material to tell the story in the most effective way that they can. And sometimes that's not really obvious, and you've got to go through a few different iterations of a video. So I was finding that, me as an editor, it's taken me forever. And when I'm doing that, I'm not doing all the other things you need to do to run a business. So the next hire was a full-time editor to pick up that load.
And were you focusing on sales and business development?
Exactly. Yeah. I would say sales, business development, and also product development. In those days, I think we knew that this was all about combining video with technology to do new and interesting things. And it was the Wild West. There was a lot of technologies out there. I mean, some things that had traction, some things that didn't. I mean, we looked into, 3D video and hologram video and you name it.
360 videos.
360, immersive. And there was a lot of sort of flash in the pan technologies that came and went. And I think we tried to be very diligent about knowing which is which. Does this thing really have legs? Is this something that's going to be useful for people, to tell their stories? And then using those technologies to kind of leverage the video storytelling process.
And that's a big thing a lot of people don't get really, is that one of the biggest, probably the most beneficial thing of video is the emotional connection you can form with the audience. How do you guys keep that emotional integrity in your videos when it's a somewhat automated process in the editing side of things?
How do we do that?
Well, it's really not automated in the sense of it's personalized. So the content is very personalized. So when you get something that's personalized, you relate to it, you feel it, you're like, oh, they're speaking to me. Yes, I'm interested in this nursing major, and I do want to live on campus, and I am concerned about how I'm going to pay for college. So these are the 3 aspects that are incorporated into my video that are completely different than Bill's. I don't know what Bill got. He in my mind, maybe he got the same thing, but he did not. He got something that spoke to him. When I received mine, I thought, oh, great, this nursing program, this has great professors. I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to live on campus. This looks like a lot of fun. They have a new dormitory, and they're giving me a scholarship. Fantastic. I'm going to click on that call to action button to take a tour. I'm going to click on that call to action button to maybe apply or speak to a counselor. We have then moved them. We've connected with them. We've engaged with them. We've converted them to the next step. And that is our whole goal with personalized video, is just take them one step further, and then one step further. The enrollment process is a long process. They're competing for attention. They're competing for a seat at their school. So the school typically in the past wants to tell their story. But as a college student, I want to know what my story is going to be. Your story is great, but how's that going to help me? And how do I know that my journey at your school is going to be the one that I want rather than this other school over here? So by making it personalized, we create that connection.
We like to say that these videos help a student feel seen, heard, and welcomed. And I think, that is really speaking to the emotional connection that these videos create, because we see you. We know who you are, what you want, what your aspirations are, because this video speaks specifically to that. And the feedback that we get confirms that. Every video, there's a, was this video helpful thing. And the comments we get are really gratifying. We got one that said, this video made me know 100% for sure this is the school I want to go to. Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes a true differentiator for the
sure.
school, rather than just the generic information. We get a ton of thumbs up. It's so heartwarming to see what they have to say.
Have you guys gotten in a situation where the same student is getting multiple personalized videos from two different schools?
It's very possible, but they won't be the same video. Because every school's got a unique story to tell. This is not a cookie cutter kind of solution for schools. And for one school, we work with the University of Montana, where a big part of their story is the physical environment of going to school in Montana, in Billings, Montana. Other schools, it's much more of a cerebral story, the academics and, the relationship with your teachers and so forth. So absolutely, students will get multiple videos, but each one will be completely different.
And we would love for them to have multiple videos, because that means we have tons of clients
Yeah.
in addition to the over 200 that we're currently working with.
In your perfect utopian future, every single
Exactly.
university.
We would love it. How can we sign everyone up? But one of the types of videos that we do, it's called a personalized admit video. So you figure at admission time, these college students or pre-college students, seniors in high school, are avidly waiting the email. Did I get in? How many places did I get in? So usually in their mind, you probably have narrowed it down to 2 or 3 schools. You're waiting anxiously. We just worked with the University of Cincinnati, who did a personalized admit video. So they got that student, if they were admitted, they got a very personalized, their name is plastered all over campus. You see students talking about this student's name coming in at different locations. You see the big football game. You see the enrollment professional welcoming and the excitement there. So that student is going to be like, wow, they really want me here. Instead of maybe just a generic email, congratulations, you've gotten in. Not only did I get that email that I got in, I got this personalized video. And the comments on those were awesome. I feel like I have a home here. That could really make the difference of that student accepting the admittance rather than, not receiving one.
So in order for this system to work, it sounds like you have to have a lot of really specific organized data on all these prospective students. So do you guys help with the gathering of that data, or does your clients just have to have that already in
The
order
schools
to
have
access
it.
this?
So they actually purchase that data from different sources. For instance, when a student takes the SAT, they can check off a box that says share my information, and the schools actually purchase that information. So they come to us with a wealth of information. The hard part actually is deciding which pieces of data we want to work with, right? So they have a huge amount of information about that student, their hometown, their SAT scores, honors, and so forth. So we work with them to sort of cherry pick the information that will help them tell their story best. And like I said, it's a different story for every school.
Absolutely a different story for each school. And that's what you want. You want to be able to tell your story because you want that student to resonate with that story and to know that it's going to be a great fit. It's almost like envisioning your future at that school with relevant information.
So it's 2025 while we're recording this. There's so much that's been happening in the industry with AI and things like that. How are you guys staying on top of that? And I'm sure your technology stack is evolving and there's a bazillion directions to take it. How are you guys navigating all the new tech available?
Well, we're all about the tech, and we try to be thoughtful about how we bring technology into what we do. At the end of the day, we know with this age of an audience, authenticity is extremely important. So we approach AI as a tool in the process of creating videos, but not as an end in itself. So we do not use artificially produced video. Everything's got to be real. It's real human beings, real campus, real students that are on camera. However, we definitely use AI in the process of creating the videos. We use a lot of different technologies too. So yeah, I mean, it's part of like sort of an evolving tool set of things that we use to do what we do.
Yeah, so we really love it as more of like a coding partner, something to help wire things together in the background more than, hey, we just got a new graphic designer. It's like, we don't treat it, it's nice for making mock-ups of things, but it's not going to replace anyone on our team or allow us to not go on location to shoot things. Because speaking to the authenticity, that's something we just recently had conversations with clients about. If you're going to take the effort and the time and the expense to create a video, let's shoot the actual video and make something authentic, because people can feel and sense when it's just slapped together fake videos of people that don't exist. You kind of sense it.
You do. One of the schools that sort of approached us was using AI as a video tool for their website, and he said, "Isn't this cool?" And it's
we were trying to be very kind.
It's this
on that call.
avatar just like standing and just like staring in the camera, and it was honestly unnerving. And it's like I would never use an approach like that, especially with young students. I mean, they sense fake a mile away. Believe me, I've got 2 high school kids, and they know fake when they see it. So it's not something that we're interested in terms of like video content, but again, as a tool to get the job done, absolutely.
Yeah, we had a funny story we heard from another client who had been very proud of themselves for using a AI avatar to do a whole bunch of video. But then somebody in the company reported that they recognized that AI avatar from an adult website. And then she got like a big nickname in the company, and they're like, "Oh, take everything down."
Scrap like hours of video content hosted by someone who also hosted some kind of porn site.
Yes.
Maybe they should have noted that on the website.
The person who said, "You know what? She looks familiar." You might be looking at them a little side-eye.
Anonymously reported.
Anonymously reported. Although we did see an ad from someone who used AI, and immediately we were exchanging jokes. There was either they were missing the pointer finger or had an extra pointer finger. I was like, yeah, they missed the point.
Nice.
And it was, I think it was an alcohol commercial. I don't know, but it was funny. And if you don't, but hey, it did make us remember it. Maybe not for the right reasons, but
well, it's funny. AI. I mean, it's evolving, but it's still not perfect. And I saw something on somebody shared with me. It was the first actual TV commercial that was
I saw
all
that.
AI generated.
Yeah. That was a good catch you had.
Yeah,
Very
I scrutinize these things. I'll watch them through a few times just to sort of get a feel for it. And there was actually a half of a line of dialogue that was spoken, but the lips didn't move. which I thought was interesting that whoever created this thing didn't notice that. I mean, this is something that was put out for broadcast television, and I mean, if that was real video, you surely would have noticed that your actor wasn't, his mouth was not moving at that moment in time, and somehow they overlooked that. So it's getting there. I don't think it's ever going to be at a point where it's something that we embrace in what we do, but I can understand why other people would. And I think it depends entirely on the context of the message that you're sending out, who your audience is, and what their expectations are.
Right. For instance, sometimes we have the president of the school or the dean of the school on camera. We would never want to use a fake image of them,
right.
speaking to somebody. That just would not be smart.
Yeah, and we will literally have like the dean or the president do welcomes, and we've got a list of the top names from each of the decades of kids, and they'll go through hundreds of names. We actually filmed that, and it's not hard. You put a teleprompter in front, and in 45 minutes you get through the list. It would be easy enough to do a deep fake of them saying those names, but we're not going to do it because I think it crosses that line of believability. All of a sudden it's like, I don't know if this is real or not. I don't know if I can believe this video.
Right.
So that's with the personalization. They'll say every name on the list that this video is going out
depending on the type of video, and depending on the school. If that's what they want, they can absolutely do that. So each school, we're not saying, okay, this is what you need to do. For instance, we could have, we're doing the same type of video, say a financial aid video or an admin video for two schools, and they could look completely different, but still on the same topic. Their story to tell, we help them do it.
So it sounds like doing all these renditions of a video would be expensive. Like, how does the price compare to the alternative?
It's very scalable. So what we're talking about is done essentially by a robot. So once you've created all the content pieces that you need, then we take that data and we've created a render engine that sort of intelligently assembles those pieces to tell a cohesive and seamless story. So whether we're doing it for 500 students or 200,000 students, essentially it's just computer time. These things are all generated. We have actually 2 data centers with machines that are running 24/7, and they're just knocking these things out. So, we essentially just send the job to the machine, and it renders out the videos. They're hosted in the cloud, and then sent out in a variety of different ways.
Yeah, the data storage must be a huge part of what you guys do. That's so much content you're producing. I can't even imagine.
It is, yeah. We
have.
generate literally millions of videos, and they have to live somewhere. So, typically the lifespan of an individual video is going to be a year. And after a year...
Host it?
They're hosted through Amazon Web Services, but yeah, we contract for that. So yeah, you got to manage that because it'll just endlessly accumulate. So after a year, we delete all the old ones and then we replace them with new ones.
So what's your guys' plans moving forward with the business? Do you have any other new verticals or things you're trying to do, or any changes coming up?
We do. Higher ed has been very good to us, so that will continue to be our focus. We work with several hundred schools. There are over 4,000 four-year degree granting colleges in the United States. So we've got plenty of room to grow. We are looking at sort of subsets of education. So independent schools, K through 12, community colleges, technical schools. Those are all, areas that we're growing into. And then outside of education, we are now moving into nonprofit, which is kind of an adjacent vertical to higher education. And then looking a little further down the road into the bigger category of what we would call business, which is tons of different applications.
Very cool. So if anybody wants to get in touch or learn more from you guys, what's the best way to do that?
Best bet is probably to go on our website. It's alliedpixel.com. You can get a good sampling of the types of videos that we do and how they work. There's also plenty of ways that you can reach us through the website, or if somebody wants to reach myself or Ann directly, we're both on LinkedIn too.
Yeah, so We have a couple more episodes coming up with you guys. We're going to talk about personalized video for higher ed and nonprofits. So stay tuned and we'll get to it. So thank you guys again for coming in.
You bet.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Stories from the Top is your guide to successful business development. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or find Edge of Cinema on YouTube. Stories from the Top is an Edge of Cinema production, hosted by Matthew Skura and Jeremy Schmidt. To learn more or get in touch, visit edgeofcinema.com/podcast.